Zastava M88A. I'd like to say this one is mine, but it's not. Long story short, I lost a gentleman's bet, so now this belongs to a good friend of mine. So before I transfer it over, I'll go ahead and take this opportunity to talk about it for a minute and show you how to clean it. I like everything on this pistol. I like the way it shoots, I like the way it looks, I like the way it feels, and I like the way it carries. I like the way it carries because it feels like a really thin 1911. I mean, not so much in the grips. You can see how they protrude out from the slide just a little bit, but the slide itself is very thin. As you can see here, looking at the muzzle, the outer dimensions of the slide is just a little bit larger than the bore. You can order this gun with two types of grips. You got the plastic grips, and then you can choose the wood grips if you like. My buddy wanted the wood grips on this one, so that's what I ordered, and I think he made a good choice. They look really good. They're not stippled. They have dents in the wood. They've seen better days, but it just looks really good on a classic gun like this. The M88A is by no means modern, and it's not supposed to be. It's sold as a surplus gun. The officer or soldier who had this gun before got plenty of use out of it. It definitely has a genuine battle-worn finish all over this gun. And it's obvious that it happened from normal use, mostly holster wear. There's no deep scratches on this gun besides the grips. On the metal, there's no serious damage, just normal wear and tear where the bluing's starting to come off. It's nothing that couldn't be fixed with a good Cerakote job, but I definitely would not Cerakote this gun. I would leave it natural just like it is. When you order the M88 online, you can choose from excellent, good, and fair condition, but I wonder if I can put a special request in for an extra shitty gun so that I can get more of this battle-worn finish that I like so much. I actually ordered this one in excellent condition, and this is what I got. So after looking at these pictures, you can see that this gun is definitely not in what anyone would call excellent condition, but once I shot it, I was pleasantly surprised. This gun shoots amazing. I took Jacob out to the range with me. Jacob's a new shooter, and he had no trouble operating this gun. Once we both learned where to hold on these sights, we had no problem hitting at anywhere from 5 up to 35 yards.
Good.
Okay, this was at 10 yards. This is where I figured out the hold. So my first shot, I aimed right for the bullseye, and this is what I got. Probably about 3 inches below. It wasn't a good trigger pull. I pulled it too hard and hit a little low. Some of that was my fault, but even when rested on the bench, this gun still hits low. So on the second series of shots, I aimed above the bullseye, and that's how I was able to get in the center of the target. Now this doesn't mean that the sights are off. The windage is just fine on this. It's just the elevation at close range. So if you stretch this out about 25 or 35 yards, it hits right about point of aim, point of impact. At least it did for me. So I think the good people at Zastava had these really tall sights designed to stretch out to further distances, which is okay with me. I mentioned that this looks like a thin 1911, but the trigger is not. Although it's single stage, it doesn't break like glass. When I dry fire it, it just doesn't feel clean. It does not have a clean break, but when you shoot it, none of that matters. What matters is what it does when you actually fire this gun. It doesn't take long to figure out where and how this trigger breaks or where it resets, and once you do, it's easy to fire rapid, easy follow-up shots. You can carry this locked and cocked 1911 style. If you don't have confidence in the safety, I suppose you can carry it hammer down. I don't know how that would work out for you in an emergency situation, but if the hammer's down, it does have serrations on the hammer that make it easy to pull back with your thumb. I personally would never carry this gun in that condition. If I were to carry this, I would carry it with the hammer back and the safety on, locked and cocked. And yes, YouTube's probably going to ban this video because I said the word cock. Since we're on the subject of carrying, I do like how this gun doesn't have many places for cotton and lint to hide. It's pretty well sealed up below the hammer. There's not much room for dirt or lint to fall into this gun. I'm sure that's going to aid in its reliability. Speaking of reliability, I took this gun right out of the box, took it straight to the range, and fired it with all the with all the warehouse cosbling it had on it, and didn't have any malfunctions whatsoever. It was flawless. So I can't find anything really negative to say about this except the fact that it only came with one magazine. This is the one magazine that you see here. It's got plenty of wear and tear on it, just like the rest of the gun, but it works fine. So let's get on with the cleaning. To get started, you'll need a few things. CLP or whatever your favorite cleaner is. I use CLP because it's cleaner and lubricant all in one, also a protectant. You don't need a bore snake, but I like to use one just to be thorough. You're going to need a cleaning rod, a nylon brush, 9mm sized bore brush, and a cleaning patch holder, and appropriate size cleaning patches, or if you don't have patches, you can cut up an old t-shirt. First, make sure your weapon is clear and safe. Point in a safe direction. Remove the magazine by pressing the magazine release button on the left-hand side. Look on the right-hand side of the weapon. You'll see a locking tab just in front of the grip. Push that grip back with a brass punch. If you don't have a brass punch, you can use the edge of your magazine. Now that you've moved the lever back, you'll see that button towards the muzzle end is exposed. You can push that button on the right hand side and it's going to push the slide lock lever on the other side of the gun out. Sometimes it doesn't come out right away. Just keep pushing that button, maybe pull it on the other side with your other hand. So you're pushing with your right hand and pulling on your left and it'll come out. So now when the slide lock lever or slide release lever, whatever you want to call it, comes out, the slide's going to come off really easy. Push down on the recoil spring from chamber end to muzzle end and pull the spring out. Once the slide and the recoil spring is removed, the barrel bushing is really easy to turn. Just turn it and pull it right off. If it doesn't go one way, then it goes the other. Pull the barrel straight out through the muzzle end. Now, I don't know what this piece is called, but it looks like it houses the hammer. We're just going to call it the flux capacitor. Just pull straight up on that and it's going to come out. So now we're field stripped. We have the frame, the sear and hammer housing, or you can call it the flux capacitor if you want to, the slide, the recoil spring, the barrel, and the barrel bushing. Let's get started with the frame. Spray it down with CLP or whatever cleaner you got. Spray a little on your nylon brush. It's okay if your brush is a little dirty. It's going to happen, but just make sure it's not like ridiculous dirty. If it's getting really dirty or it's totally black, just throw it away and get another one. If you don't have a gun cleaning specific nylon brush, a toothbrush will do. Start scrubbing every visible surface. Pay particular attention to the rails. This goes the same for both the frame and the slide. Also give special attention to the areas that you see metal on metal wear. CLP will work just fine, but if you're going to use a dedicated lubricant, the metal on metal wear that you see is where you're going to use that lubricant. Use the small end of the brush to get inside the frame. When you're finished scrubbing it down, go ahead and wipe off the excess CLP with a clean rag or t-shirt. I like to be very thorough when it comes to the rails. I'm going to wrap a patch around the thin end of the nylon brush, spray some CLP on it, go through it again, wipe it off, and then I'll go through it again with a Q-tip. The easiest way that I've found to clean the inside of the magazine well is to wrap a rag around the nylon brush and just kind of get in there the best I can. Next, I'm going to clean the barrel. Spray CLP inside and outside and just start scrubbing the outer surfaces with a nylon brush. Next, screw on your 9mm sized bore brush and push it through the barrel from muzzle end to chamber end. Once the brush comes out of the muzzle end, I don't pull the dirt right back in. I unscrew the brush, pull the rod out, and start the process over. I do this a few times. Now let's use cleaning patches. Spray some CLP on a patch, push it through. You can use the patch holder, but I use this other device. I'm not sure what this pick device is, but it works much better than the patch holder for me. I push the patch through. You'll see that it comes out dirty. Push another one through, it'll come out less dirty, and just repeat the process until the patches start coming out clean. At this point, you can use a bore snake if you want. Just pull it through from chamber end to muzzle end. Pulling the bore snake through 2 or 3 times should be just fine. Spray your recoil spring down with CLP and brush it clean the best you can. Now wipe it off with a clean rag. Now do the same with your slide stop, your barrel bushing, and your slide. Okay, time for reassembly. Drop your sear and hammer assembly back down into the frame. Now replace the barrel the same way it came out. Now replace the recoil spring, but make sure it goes in correctly. That part by my thumb goes against the barrel and towards the chamber end. Now replace the barrel bushing like so. We're almost done. So far, everything should look just like this on the slide. Now line up the rails and push the slide back onto the frame. Make sure the holes for the slide stop are lined up correctly. Now when you put the slide stop back in, be careful not to scratch the frame. You can see there that this frame has been scratched before. Earlier I called this a locking tab or something like that, but it's actually called a slide stop retainer. You want to push that forward towards the muzzle end. Now let's do a function check. This has a magazine safety, so you're not going to be able to do it without the magazine. So insert an empty magazine. Even though we know it's unloaded, we're still going to treat it as if it may be, so point in a safe direction. Pull the slide back. And it's not going to slide back on its own because you have the magazine in it. So you'll have to use the slide release to let the slide go home. Pull the trigger, the hammer should drop. Pull it back again. Don't release the trigger. Use the slide release to let the slide go home. Pull the trigger again. And if the hammer drops, you're good to go. If you found this video even the least bit helpful, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and buy something from us at skullcrush.com.